All right, so this is what I had in mind. So what we were going to do is we're going to have the rogue go in and start a flanking maneuver, and while he's doing that, the bard is setting up the fighter
That's
and
boring.
the.
That's boring. No, I'm just gonna rush right in. I'm just going right in, and
Hey,
you
wait,
just
come
follow
on,
me.
we
No,
need a
no, no. We're
plan here.
going. We're charging in. You're gonna do one take wonders.
No,
Yeah.
we're going to be one take wonders. I like that. All right, so welcome to Geekery.
Hello,
Hi, I am Gneech.
and I am InkBlitz.
Yep, and this week we're going to talk about the topic of D&D being a team sport.
Yeah, because we see a lot when people are talking about D&D. They talk about their own characters, their own tactics, what they are doing, but at the same time, it's like a lot of people don't really consider D&D as a team activity. Like you
Yep.
focus on yourself, you focus on your characters and how you can make your characters as awesome as they could be, but
Yeah, there's usually at least three, sometimes as many as five or six other people around the table, and it is a group activity. So what does that mean? So starting with the player's end, you really have to understand that your character is a hero,
Mhm.
but they're not the hero.
Right.
We're used to movies, books, video games where there's a singular hero whose job is to be awesome, and everybody else is a reflection or a inversion of that character. That's
Yes.
not how it works with D&D.
No, with D&D, like you are an aspect. You are a puzzle piece of this heroic group. The
Yeah,
hero is not you. The hero is your team. And
yeah,
and
exactly.
y- if you think of it that way, you're just like a part of this hero. And
Yeah,
think of it as a group that is a singular hero.
yeah. So I mean, you're not. The story is not about Iron Man. The story is about the Avengers, right?
Right.
So we're looking at the group dynamic, threats that will challenge the group, etc. And you can have like sub things. You can have somebody's nemesis pop up and things like that. But remember that you're there about the team rather than about you know my guy. And a corollary of that is you want to have a character who can fit into a team context.
Yeah.
The sort of edgelord stereotype of the mysterious guy in the corner
We've all seen
doesn't
the
say
Aragorns
anything.
sitting in the
Yeah,
corner, smoking their pipes, watching the party enter the inn from their corner, and just like,
yeah.
you
The
know, this
thing
guy's
is,
gonna be trouble.
when you encounter people like that in real life, what do? You look over, you see them over there, and you ignore them.
Ignore them. You don't interact with that. That's done. They are
Yeah.
not. You can see that this person is not interested in you. You're not
Yep.
interested in them, and like, are they going to be a team player? No. So okay, characters can be selfish. We're really considering this as on a player standpoint, where yes, characters can be selfish and have their own goals, but as a player, we
Yeah.
need to consider our goal as a player is
Mhm.
to be a part of this team.
Yeah, and the lone wolf character, again back to the singular hero versus the team as a hero. The lone wolf character is great for comics and video games and things like that because you only have yourself to think about. But in a group dynamic, a lone wolf character is very boring because you never interact with them.
Yes.
The lone wolf is sort of sitting there waiting for you to be interested in his backstory, but the lone wolf is not providing you with any reason to be. He's just sort of, it's a trope of, oh, that person is so mysterious. I wonder what they're about. Real people aren't generally like that.
No.
So
So, like if you throw, like, how many times do you have, the party come into a place and you have this new lone wolf character that as a player you're supposed to talk to because this is supposed to be your next new uh, teammate, but
yeah.
trying to go and talk to them
Mhm.
and
And
trying
in
to
the world,
interact
I
with them
mean,
is so contrived.
they don't have a little neon light that says player character above their head.
Right? They don't have little exclamation marks above their
Yeah,
head saying,
yeah,
"Please, I have quest."
yeah. And the flip side of the lone wolf is the person who basically tries to be the whole team by themselves.
Yes, this is the
Uh,
person who's trying to not just be the healer, but they also want to be the damage dealer, the tank. They want to know all the things and be able
yeah,
to have a answer for everything that happens. Which, I mean, there are people that do that, but you have to consider again, you have 4, 5 other people
yeah.
who have
And that,
characters that should have specialties.
yeah. I mean, this player that we're talking about, the do everything guy. Um, on the one hand, it's great because they're engaged in the game at all times.
Yeah,
Every scene, they're there. They want to be doing stuff. They want to be involved in it, and that's awesome. The downside of that is they're stepping on everybody else,
yeah, DMs
right?
do like these kind of players because they are the ones that will try and engage with everything and they will try to solve all of the problems.
Yeah, they make things happen.
Right.
They respond to stuff, and that can be great. But when you've got a paladin who can do all the damage, do all the healing, uh, do all the talking, just I pick paladin because they're sort of the
Right.
classic do
They're
everything kind of character.
the Talons are the characters that can basically do everything, but they shouldn't. Like
Yeah,
you should have a healer in your party. You should have a face in your party. And the
yeah,
paladin usually, I'd say half of the time ends up being the face because they have the charisma for it and they have the alignment
yeah,
for it.
yeah. And it's also a matter of the character who can do everything is good at like propping up weak spots in your party.
Yes.
But if you have somebody who's strong at something, let them do that thing, right? So if you've got a character who can be the off healer, you know, in a fight when you need an off healer, go ahead and do that. But the rest of the time, let the main healer have the big bump that heals everybody or resurrects people or whatever.
Now you
Um,
see this also in like bards because they are the jack of all trades, but at the same time, a bard is still going to be that character that fills the holes. They're not the character that specializes. Like, say you have a bard and a rogue. Well, your rogue is going to be your main trap finder, or they're going to be your main scout. The bard should mostly be filling the holes where the rogue can't.
yeah,
The fill
or a rogue and a ranger, they can both be the scout,
right.
right? And they make a very effective team, being able to do things together. But you want the rogue to feel like they have a purpose there that the ranger can't fill, and you want the ranger to feel like they have a purpose there that the rogue can't.
Yeah, the biggest problem is when you're trying to fill everything, like you are kind of taking away from not just the character, but the player who's playing this character, who's excited for this character and who wants this character to be awesome.
Mm.
And then you've got another character that's being awesome at everything, and then you have so the this character that's supposed to be specialized in these things is feeling like, well, why the heck am I here? And
Yeah,
it
and
really comes back to you're not just characters at a table. You are people and players who are trying to enjoy themselves.
yeah, and this can be a hard thing. It can be a hard thing to diagnose. It can be a hard thing to deal with. I mean, you need to just sort of talk about it. 90% of problems in a D&D game are solved by talking it out with the other
Communication.
players. But it can be hard to say, hey man, can you be a little less extra? Can you dial it back a
can,
little?
can you tune it back from 11 to
You know,
maybe an 8,
yeah, because
7?
it's hard to say that without sounding like, can you have a little less fun, right?
Yeah,
And
like it's
nobody wants
hard.
to do that.
No one wants
Yeah,
to have less fun because we're all out here to have fun. And when you're telling someone you're being too extra, it's like,
yeah,
well, at what point does it become I'm not having fun, so I should ruin the fun of someone else?
yeah,
So it's a really weird and fine line, and I
yeah,
feel like one of the better ways to really mesh these together and to help other players is to still have your character that is the jack of all trades, but use that all-roundedness to set up other characters for other players for their success. Set up other
yeah,
characters, the master characters to be the master by pushing them up.
Yeah, and be a fan of the other players. Be a fan of the other players' characters. Like that 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 warrior is super tough and super awesome. And what I'm going to do is herd the enemies toward them so that he can be the Cuisinart that mows them down.
Yeah,
Right? Some way that your character's special abilities can complement somebody else when they're doing their special abilities is a win for both people, and that way you're not having less fun. What your fun is helping the other players have fun, right?
and like one of the ways that this can really work is that by your character, by having these skills, by having the base skills of well-roundedness, can recognize awesomeness or can recognize the mastery where other people may not be able to recognize it. Like you can see, say you're a bard who has some basic skills in pickpocketing or in dealing with traps, and they're watching the rogue work, and they're like, "Holy crap! This person knows so much more about this than I do. I need to do what I can to make sure they get the chance to do this. And if they fail, I can help. There is the help action. Like you have, if say you're a bard that has jack of all trades or has at least a basic skill in sleight of hand, you can help the bard. You can help the rogue in pickpocketing with the help action and give them advantage.
Yeah, or you don't even need a mechanical one. What you can do is you're going to pick the lock. I'm going to go distract the guard so he doesn't see you picking the lock because I'm a bard and I make a lot of noise.
Yes.
Right? Use your abilities in a way that makes their abilities better.
Make them more likely to succeed because you're that kind of person, or maybe not, but you're the person who wants the team to succeed.
And this requires a certain amount of awareness of how the team is supposed to function. Some of that you can address in like session 0, and some of that you can address in it, and some of it is just natural by class selection. You got somebody who's a fighter barbarian, they want to go into melee. You got somebody who's a rogue, they probably want to sneak and scout and stuff like that. You got somebody who's a wizard, they want to be doing mysterious things and going to the astral plane and riddling with dragons and stuff. And so you can look in terms of when a situation pops up, instead of thinking, how can I solve this? You start with, who's the best person to solve this, right? And throw them at it. If it's you, then go for it. If it's another player, send them off to do it. So
help them come up with tactics. Like if you have an idea, and you really think it should be done, well, if you don't have the skills in the character, or if your character, I hate to say it's what my character would do, but if your character would not do it, be a little meta. Communicate out of character, or communicate some way in character to help push this character forward.
Yeah. And then, there's a balance. There's
Yes.
a balance to be struck. Sometimes you want to step forward. Sometimes you want to be in the spotlight. And sometimes you want to be holding somebody's coat while they're in the spotlight, and knowing when is
it's a very careful
when is
balance.
The right time.
It's very difficult to really tell sometimes when you are being too much, and especially people who are just regularly higher level than most people. Like it's especially when you're playing with people who are more mellow than you are. So it's a weird balance.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on both sides of the thing. I have been the guy who's too much. I
have been too.
Yeah, and I've never intended to squash everybody else. I just sort of noticed that the more I talked, the quieter everybody else got, and I was like, "What's going on here?" Right? And I finally figured out that I was basically not really bullying people into not participating, but they were just sort of, well, Gneech is here doing stuff. What am I? I'll just let him take care of it. And I've also been, recently in the game we've talked about my character Aiko, who's just not very effective. She's not a great build. She's personality-wise, she's not working out the way I wanted. And so there have been times in recent sessions where I kind of felt like I'm not contributing, and I'm I'm not having a lot of fun, and so I try to watch for that in both directions, and it's not always easy to tell what's going on. So.
No, it's not, and especially I didn't know you weren't having fun, like until you maybe a couple sessions in, you're suddenly like you're talking about, well, you're not enjoying Ico. I'm like, well, what can we do about that?
Yeah.
What can we do to make this more fun? And I think I know on my side I was trying to help with the make encourage Ico to be more of a teacher, but I don't really feel like that really worked for the character, or at least it didn't work for you. But
Yeah, yeah, and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole about Ico. Just the point is,
no, it's an
uh,
example. It's an example.
yeah, yeah, knowing like there's we've talked before about what I call audience players, who are people who are there just to they're basically there to hang out with their friends, and if D&D is what we're doing, then great, you know. And some of those players don't really care about being engaged, and so there's a certain amount of how much should you be involved,
Mm-hmm.
and how much you know how much is it okay to let people just sort of sit and let the talky people do their talking, um, and that's really that starts getting into like the DM's side of things more than the player's side of things, because the DM is in charge of the spotlight in a session. The DM's in charge of pacing and how the adventure flows and things.
Yeah, it's like when you have an audience character who's just there to have fun. Well, you can't force them to
Yeah,
take a bigger impact. I mean, it's on the DM to try and look at them more and say, what is your character doing, and encourage the audience to maybe pull out of their shell a little bit. But that, again, it's a balance. Like this player is here to just chill and be with their friends, and if you push at them too hard, they may be
yeah, and it becomes
discouraged.
work and stops being fun.
Yeah, it just stops being fun. But yeah,
Yep.
DMs are also part of the team. A lot of people consider the DM as a separate entity, or a separate. They're separate from
Yeah,
the party, but they're
the DMs
not.
are in charge and the players are
I like to
dancing
think
to their tune.
I like to think of the DM as the last player. They are part of the team who is just aware of everything and who can't, tell the team what's happening. They are all of your NPCs who, are trying to assist or hinder the party. They are all of your monsters who are trying to defeat the party, or strengthen
They're
the
also
party
the
up.
forces of the natural world.
Yeah, they are.
The
But
DM plays gravity. you know,
oh, there goes
so
gravity.
yeah, gravity failed its check. Everybody flies off the planet. Yeah, but there are ways that DM can be part of the problem. Like if the DM has a favorite player,
Yes.
this tends to happen more in younger groups, as people are learning their social skills and things like this. But it can happen anywhere where you have, uh, the archetype is the DM's significant other gets special treatment, and I think that actually probably does not happen as much as you hear about.
I mean, I
Um,
don't believe it happens in our group, because we have
no,
your wife, Lori, who is, part of our group, and I don't see that happening any
yeah,
more than, to say, you give anyone else any preferential treatment. You're just trying
yeah.
to encourage everyone, but she is one of, a quieter character, so she needs a little more push sometimes.
Yeah, but I mean, it can also just be the DM's best friend, or the DM just I really love this. I really love this rogue you've come up with, and I'm going to give them all the cool adventures. And also there's also a fighter and a cleric and stuff, and
No, I just don't care
they're
about
your
them.
sidekicks. Yeah, that can be a problem that the DMs should be aware of. But I mean, the other thing with the DM is like having a mental timer. You know, this person has done a lot of talking. Are they dominating the group? What can I do to, give other people some spotlight time? I'm very fond of saying that the true currency in a role-playing game is spotlight time.
Yes.
You know, it's not gold, it's not experience, it's how much time you get to do the cool thing. And as a DM, you have to make sure that everybody has some of that.
Well, I mean, when you get away from the mechanics of the game and experience points and golds, the only thing that we get out of this game is time. Uh, Whether it's time to have fun, time to be a goofball, and you're right. It's like that is the currency of the game. Is well, two things: time and fun.
Yeah.
Nothing else matters. The gold doesn't matter. The experience points doesn't matter. So as long as as people are getting a little bit of time, and the DM is the person who directs how much time everyone has. So even though you may have a player who's using a character that is doing everything or trying to do everything, you need, as a DM, it is important to remember there are several other players who, despite this player or character doing everything, they need to have the focus on their skills and abilities. And you will have players who will not step up to that, or will not recognize that you're trying to put focus on their character's skills, and
And
that's fine.
you also have the player who is in every scene. You know, they're off at the blacksmith's, and you start doing a scene at the church, and suddenly they're in the church too. You have to. There's a certain amount of discipline the DM has to have of saying to that player, "No, you're off at the blacksmith. Hush." You know, you don't have to be harsh about it. You don't have to be mean about it. But at some point, you do have to push back sometimes if you have a very aggressive
It's like
player.
that skit. It's like, I am attacking the darkness. Do I see it? No, you're getting drunk.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it's a thing where, again, the player is very engaged. They want to be involved. They want to be part of the fun, but they're overstepping.
Yes.
And most of the time, they probably don't even realize they're overstepping. And you have to gently but firmly, sort of shush.
That's kind of where I say that the DM, while they're part of the team, is also a referee and coach. So you are watching the entire team, and you are should be aware of what the entire team is doing pretty much at all times. It's complicated, and you have to focus on them and the world, whereas the players only focus on their singular characters. But at the same time, it's why I say you're a coach. Like you're there to encourage things to happen, either through throwing NPCs at the players, throwing monsters at the players that would help focus on a certain character, or might have certain aspects which you think that certain characters will focus at.
Mhm.
It's a line.
Yeah.
It's a fine line.
Yeah. And it doesn't take long. It doesn't necessarily take long for every character to have their cool moment.
No.
Whether it's a huge crit, or it's bamboozling the king, or whatever it is that somebody gets their moment to shine. Usually, if everybody gets at least some kind of a moment over the course of a session, everyone will be happy. And so it's a matter of when you're the DM, looking for ways to give everybody their moment, and noticing when somebody's getting all the moments, and dialing them back.
I mean, it's difficult. It's not easy. I mean, as a DM, we're trying to focus on everything, and we probably forget the names of a dozen characters before we'll remember, oh yeah, this character is not having their special moments, or this character is having too many moments, or too much focus is on this character. Now what?
All right. Well, I think we pretty well covered it. Did we miss anything?
I don't think so. I know I jumped back and forth across the script, but
That's okay. The script is a tool. It's not not the goal. Just like the play is what happens at the table, and not in the book. So
Yes.
anyway, so topics for next time.
Topics for next time. Respect at the table. I
Yeah.
mean, this kind of relates to this one a little bit. Like, how do you respect other players or the DM? How do
Yeah.
you mesh together better with the DM and players.
Yeah.
Is also your game master credo for the DMs.
Yeah, your game master credo. What is your philosophy? What are your guiding principles of being a GM, and what are you trying to get out of it? And this one I put on here: remixing, respecking, or retiring. That's dealing with a character who's not working, such as Ico or your paladin in the
yeah, we've all had
Burning Coast game.
Sometimes they just
a
don't
character.
work.
Yeah. And so is there something you can do to take the same character and give them a new focus or rebuild them or something, or is it that character just doesn't work and you need a new character?
Or the
And how do you make
character
those
concept that you
decisions?
just doesn't mesh with you. What do you do with it?
Yep. So please let us know in the comments which of those topics or any other topic you would like us to cover.
We are open to topics. We have a list of them, but we are open to yours as well. Please throw topics at us. Not too hard, because not the face.
Yeah. So, but we love to interact with people, because that's really where our fuel comes from. Is the back and forth, the discussion, figuring out what people need or want. I also, as always, I want to plug my Patreon, because that's how I make my living, which is patreon.com/the_Gneech, where I do my art and writing and talking about gaming and everything else.
You can find our social media stuff down in the doobly-doo, and of course, like and subscribe.
Yeah.
I don't know where you're gonna put me, so it's either over there or it's over there somewhere.
Wherever it is, it's
they're there.
Yeah, and YouTube
somewhere.
moves them around anyway. So, yeah, and I'm told the little bell notifications are good for growing a channel.
Ring the bell.
I have no real experience points in it, or experience points. I have no direct experience in it.
We have no levels in this.
I have no levels in YouTube, so but please give it a try. Subscribe on the bell icon and see what you get. We'll find out how it works. And and thanks for coming, and we'll see you next time.
See you later.
And I'm totally going to use you going Leroy Jenkins as the stinger at the end. So.
Did we get that on? You were recording?
Yeah, I was recording the whole time.
Crap.
So.